Welcome back to This Week in Costa Rica. Thanks for joining us again, guys. Our email is info@thisweekincostarica.com. That is, of course, the website as well. If you want to get a hold of us, any questions or comments about the program, we do appreciate it. I have on one of my favorite guests to get on lately, and that's Mr. James Ritchie from the Anti-Aging and Wellness Clinic. James, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you, Corey?
Good. It's nice to see you on video this time. You look super, super young.
Yeah, not bad for 80.
No kidding. Like, I'm sitting here, I'm growing my little beard out. I'm going bald. I'm 39, but sometimes I look like I'm 50.
Well, why don't you come in?
I think I'm going
to. We invited you the last time, so we'd love to have you here.
That sounds great. Look, why don't we give the listeners a bit of a background of who you are and where you came from?
Well, I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois in the U.S., and I moved to Costa Rica approximately 11, 12 years ago. Started a software business here to support some telecom businesses that I had in the United States with wireless cellular engineering. And been down here since then. I was commuting for about 5 or 6 years, of the first 5 or 6 years that I was here. And now I've got a 5-year-old daughter and love being here.
Well, congratulations. Are you living in the San Jose area then, around the clinic?
Yes, I live in the San Jose area.
Okay, fantastic. Sounds like you got a pretty good life going on there.
Yeah, I'm paying the bills, I'm feeding the family, and I'm able to invest in other areas, which is the medical field. That's a field that's fascinating, has always been fascinating for me. And I think there's a lot of things that we can do that, obviously, as technology advances in medicine, we seem to be getting sicker, even though we're living longer. And I don't want to be 70 years of age in a state where I can't enjoy my life. So one of the things I'm working on is trying to utilize Costa Rica as a way to help people get healthier.
It's an interesting point because I was just recently, I got Dish Network here. So I'm watching American television. And it's been some time since I sat down in front of the boob tube to see what's going on up in the U.S. And obviously following all of the healthcare conundrum and everything that's going on in that regard, I also noticed that basically, the commercials are going back and forth between food commercials and drug commercials, and then of course, everything on the news is about the healthcare. So obviously, this weighs heavily on a lot of people's minds. Maybe you and I are crazy. We're living down here in Central America. We're enjoying our lives in Costa Rica. We're eating well. We're getting healthier. Whereas it seems like a lot of the rest of the first world, for lack of a better term, is kind of on the downslope.
Yeah, I have to be honest with you, Corey. I was just traveling back. I travel frequently to the U.S. and still have family there all the time. And it's really depressing once you spend a lot of time in Costa Rica and you just go into a typical mall or a store and you see the amount of obesity in the United States. It really stands out when you're not spending time every day in that country. You're living in Costa Rica, and quite honestly, I don't mean to say Costa Rica's perfect in that regard. We're even seeing it more here, and I think a lot of it has to do with the diet, the processed foods, and those types of things are really having an impact when you really are poisoning yourself for a matter of 10, 15, 20 years by not eating the way maybe our grandparents ate.
No, you're absolutely right, because look, we're seeing almost an inundation of American franchise food and more American-style supermarkets that are full of products that are basically based on sugar and corn syrup. And more Costa Ricans, are going in that direction with their diet. So I can imagine that really leads into what you guys are doing there at the Wellness Clinic, not only for a North American clientele, but also a Costa Rican clientele.
Yeah, we're, bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, which is really our specialty, our bread and butter at the clinic. That's what our expertise is. We're, bar none, we're the experts in Costa Rica in that area. And in fact, Central America and perhaps even Latin America, because generally speaking, Latin America has been a little bit slow to head in that direction. Whereas the U.S., there's a lot of businesses, doctors, clinics, large organizations that are established in the United States. The biggest problem there, and Canada, but the biggest problem is that it's prohibited for a large percentage of the population because of the high prices. And so we're able to do that, and we're able to service a great deal of the North American marketplace that wants to take advantage of medical tourism in Costa Rica. And then on top of that, now we're trying to reach out more to the Latino environment and express more about how it's going to help them in the future, because as these emerging markets become more westernized, they start to eat more like we do in North America. They start to go to the fast food restaurants that are going up on every corner here, like we do in North America. It's more important than ever that we get the message out to those folks as well.
Looking at the website today, I'm always amazed by the range of services that you guys are providing. What are some of the most popular services that you're seeing right now people are signing up for?
Well, the most popular is definitely bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. That includes, doing a very comprehensive blood exam. We look at at least 20 different blood markers, everything from just general lipid levels all the way through your hormone levels. In fact, most of us who come from North America probably would never even get this type of blood test in a normal physical unless you went to an anti-aging doctor and you paid for it out of your pocket, because insurance is not going to want to cover that. So that gets them started, and then from there we look at their hormones and we try to balance them, and we try, if you're 40 years old or 50 years old or 60 years old, what happens is it becomes a cyclical process where one hormone goes bad, another hormone goes bad, you're not eating right, you're not feeling the energy, so you don't have the desire to work out. And eventually it's just a process that keeps building upon itself, it snowballs, and then you start to be at risk for cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, even Alzheimer's disease in some cases. There's some theories that actually all of these could be related to just the lifestyle that we have, the environment that we have that's full of toxins. Nobody knows for sure, but we definitely know that the trend lines are not going in the right direction, and people are not as healthy as they used to be. Even though scientific medicine has gotten so advanced, we've been able to keep people alive longer. So I guess that's how they're measuring success right now, and we don't think that's the right way to go about it.
No, I'm with you 100%. I mean, it's one thing to be alive. It's another thing to have a quality of life.
Exactly.
So it sounds like really, the starting point for a lot of what you guys are doing there is this really comprehensive blood test.
Yeah, it's not that expensive. We charge in Costa Rica $550, but one of the interesting things about the blood test is we have relationships with U.S. doctors as well, and we can get Quest Diagnostics, if you're familiar with that company, or LabCorp to run tests for individuals in the United States where they can potentially use their insurance company at least to get the blood test. If they get the blood test in Costa Rica, it's going to be $550, but it's going to be well invested, in my opinion, because we're going to be able to identify so much about what's going on inside of you that you're going to be amazed. Many people come in here, they're just overweight, they might be 40, 45. In fact, we just had a ex-professional boxer in here a few weeks ago, and he's pre-type 2 diabetic, and he did a testimonial for us because he was so happy that he did come down and he did get that test because he wasn't getting that type of service back in the United States.
You think as well, somebody coming out of pro athletics, that they've grown up their whole lives surrounded by, great doctors and great physicians and people who are monitoring these sort of things. And we rarely think about, what happens to these guys physically after they get out of the sport, after they're no longer doing it professionally. And I noticed that on your site as well, that you do mention that you really specialize in this and that you help a lot of folks who are getting out of those professional athletic situations and then looking at what is the long-term way of taking care of my body and improving my health and well-being.
Well, exactly. I think we talked about this last time we were on the show. These folks, once we reach age 30, that's kind of like a big, we used to call it, once you were age 30, you were over the hill. Well, there's some degree of truth to that. Through cosmetics and cosmetic surgery and lotions and skin lotions and sun protection and those sorts of things, we're able to actually fake it on the outside past 30 more than what people think. But what's happening inside especially with our foods on processed, our processed foods that we're eating, the type of diet we're eating, which is much different than our grandfathers, is causing a problem. And normally these problems don't show up for 10 to 15 years or even longer. So in many cases, you may still look good at 35 and you may still feel good at 35, but you're starting to degrade. And we're not suggesting that anybody go on bioidentical hormone replacement therapy when they're 30 years old or 35 years old. What we really encourage them to do is, as part of their yearly physicals, or however frequently they get their physicals, to start doing more sophisticated blood tests, because some of these people, due to their diets, due to the toxins that are in the environment, they're going to see their hormones start to get depleted much more rapidly than others. And typically, the conventional general practice physician is going to say, oh, you fall in the normal averages. Well, I don't know about you, but when I was in school, if I brought my report card home and I was average, my parents weren't so thrilled about that.
Sure.
They were saying, you've got to do better because you want to be a success in your life. And the same is true if you're aging. You don't want to be average. You want to be at the top of the percentiles as far as where your blood markers are and where your health is.
I would say good preventative medicine is really having a good benchmark in terms of what it is you want to achieve, but also good accurate testing and good data and good metrics at the outset. As I am now 39, I'm thinking a lot about, my health and well-being going into the next 20, 25 years and beyond. And, the first thing that I want to do is I want to go in and not only just see a doctor who says, okay, your blood pressure looks pretty good. You might want to eat a little less cholesterol and start thinking about cutting the salt. And that's normally just what I get out of that physical that takes maybe 2 hours. So I think having better metrics and better data in front of me is paramount of importance.
Yeah, exactly. And even sometimes they say eat less salt. Well, that just shows you right there, if the doctor says eat less salt, he's just being very simplistic about it. There's actually a variety of salts. There's sea salts, there's Himalayan salts, and then there's just the generic over-the-counter, salt that I've read in some places is 30% sand, 30% glass, and 30% salt. So depending on, I can't say I'm a chemist or a biochemist, and I've looked at it at the biochemical level, but I think if anybody just Googles, regular table salt and reads about it, I think you would be amazed at what you'll find out.
Well, I could go off on a tangent here, James, because, I buy the Himalayan salt. It's available right here at the local Feria. And I have to say, I used to every morning eat a lot of fruit and have a coffee, but I would be getting kind of these headaches. And I was talking to a friend of mine from India, and she said, you're not getting enough salt. And if you are getting salt, you're getting the wrong kind. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I went and I bought this hippie salt and I started putting it on my little boiled eggs in the morning. And immediately the headaches were gone. I was feeling better. I was digesting food better. So these little micro adjustments in our diet really, really make a big difference.
Yes, and empowering yourself with knowledge and understanding, that salt by and of itself is not bad. We need salt. We need a variety of minerals, and, salt is one of them. So, again, I just mentioned that because general practitioners just are being, I think, a little bit lazy in some respects. I don't want to knock the medical establishment because they are there to keep us alive. I just want to, try to bring people up to speed with a little bit of the information that's out there so that they can make their own intelligent decisions.
Completely fair position. I was at a doctor about 2 weeks ago, and I went in for a checkup. There was nothing really wrong with me, but I felt, okay, shouldn't I be getting X, Y, and Z tests and exams at this age? And the doctor and two doctors actually both said to me, well, honestly, if you're not really feeling any symptoms and you're leading a healthy lifestyle, you really don't need to worry about a lot of these things. And for me, it's a bit concerning. I thought, when you're approaching 40, you've got the laundry list of things that you should be probed and poked and tested for. And I thought I might as well just go get them out of the way. Similar to going to see a dentist, every 3 or 4 months, get a checkup, get a cleaning, make sure everything's going on okay. And I was a little bit discouraged to find that the doctor said, if you don't feel anything, you're probably okay.
Yeah. It's like saying if your car starts but your oil pressure is low, everything is okay.
Right.
So in some respects, oil pressure I use as one example. But by doing, and like we mentioned, the first step is the blood test, because you would be surprised with 20 or 25 different markers that we look at just through the general blood test that will tell you a lot about the person's physical condition inside, or at least tell you, hey, you should look further, or you should just say, hey, look, these guys are in pretty good shape, and come back next year and we'll check it again. So we use blood testing as like the gauges or indicators in your vehicle, where if something's not right, it's going to be in the red zone, and from that period it tells us, hey, we need to dig a little bit deeper and try to resolve that situation.
Fantastic. We're going to take advantage, I think, of the opportunity of having you on video today. Those that are listening to the radio broadcast or in the podcast form, I would encourage you to go to thisweekincostarica.com/video, and you can see this interview taking place, because it's always great to see the face of the guy who I'm talking to and the location where he's coming from. And if you don't mind, I'd like to take a look at some of the products and maybe demonstrate what you guys are doing down there.
Well, yeah, for bioidentical hormone replacement, in fact, we get, because we're in Costa Rica, and you know this, a lot of times people have certain attitudes. They're a very small percentage. I'm sure Canada's very similar, but a very small percentage of people in the United States even have passports and have ever left the United States. So it's very common for us to think that our care is going to be better in the U.S., and that if somebody's in Costa Rica, that's going to be that, like, what comes to mind is like a little Tijuana alley pharmacy, where the sign is painted in regular paint along a concrete wall, and it's all dirty. And,
I got you.
You know what I'm saying? It's more, but everything we do here, our Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Messen, is a member of the American Academy of Anti-Aging. And what we'll do is we'll show you, just some of the things. One thing I'm going to hold up here is this is for people that are on bioidentical hormone replacement called human growth hormone. And Dr. James Forsythe, one of the preeminent leaders in this field, wrote a book called Anti-Aging Cures, and he's out of Reno, Nevada. And I'm not promoting him per se, but he's definitely got a great book. I encourage everybody to Google him and read his book and read his history. But this right here he calls like the master hormone. And what this will do is it will increase your human growth hormone, which comes from your pituitary gland. And it's a very easy to administer product. It comes in a pen form. And I don't know, you tell me if we have to take a break or anything like that, Corey, but...
We can just keep rolling. I'm the producer. Keep it going. We're good.
Okay, that's fine. Forget the advertisements altogether here.
Sure.
But what the top does is the top comes off, and then there's a little needle. And this is a little needle head, and it just screws on this pin. And what's nice, this is made by a company, it's called Norditropin, and it's very common, and they actually use this for children as well when children are not growing with their peers. Sometimes pediatricians will prescribe this for kids. But really there's numbers, I don't know if you can see the numbers on there, but when the doctor prescribes this is how easy it is to use. You just turn the cap to the number the doctor tells you need to do to administer the dosage. You take off the tip. You just take this is all sanitary. You take this, rip it off. Now, usually you use an alcohol, this is the demo unit, but usually you take an alcohol swab and clean this little part, but it's a little rubber part, and this needle tip has a needle in the bottom of it that's going to puncture through this, and it just screws on very easily.
Okay.
Watch it. That's just a couple of seconds. You take the top off here. There's another top, and you have just a little tiny needle. I don't know if you can see that. That's just a little tiny needle there. And once it's turned, you're just going to take it, and it's a subcutaneous injection. You're going to squeeze together like the belly fat. Just pinch together a little bit of belly fat and just pop this needle in, and then there's a little button on the end, and you press the button, and everything's going to come and go into your subcutaneous tissue. And you do that about 5 times a week. Usually most doctors recommend you take the weekends off, or you do it, and a lot of times they recommend you do it before bedtime because that's when your body produces the most growth hormone. So that's when your body expects the growth hormone to be produced is while you're sleeping. So when you're trying to increase somebody's level that's been depleted due to the effects of aging, sometimes even brain trauma or head trauma, can do that, that's what they would prescribe.
Fantastic. Wow, looks pretty easy.
Yeah, I mean, and what's nice, actually, this is the most popular. There's about 4 companies that really produce them. This is probably the most popular in the industry because of its convenience. You know, I can stick it in my shirt pocket just like a pen, and you don't have to refrigerate it. It's already pre-mixed. It'll go about 15 days without being refrigerated. Normally, we suggest to people that they do keep it refrigerated, but if you're a businessman and you're traveling from one place to the other, you know, you just slip it in your pocket or you can put it in your luggage. There's no trouble with this pen at all whatsoever.
It's fantastic. It's fascinating stuff, you know, and again, I've got to get down to your clinic ASAP. I notice you guys have a fantastic location. I'm very familiar with the area. You're right in that multi-plaza Escazú area where there's a lot of great restaurants, a lot of great hotels, very easy to get to.
Yeah, we just actually set up a deal with the Wyndham Hotel, so I'll put a plug in for them, is that they are offering a rate. If you're coming down to see us for our clinic, it's $106. It's a brand new hotel. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but that's a lot of times when the soccer teams come in, they stay there. It's a, you know, definitely 5-star, beautiful hotel, brand new. It's only blocks away from our clinic.
No, it's fantastic. I used to live in the Santana area and spent most of my weekends in Escazú, Avenida Escazú. There's the IMAX, great restaurants, great shopping at the mall. So for a lot of people who are coming down to work with you guys, I think it's fantastic location to be because you really don't have to travel far to get all the things you'd like to do.
Yeah, if you're staying there, to just, you know, really, I think if most people are going to be in the San Jose area, one of the places they want to go to is Escazú because that's where most of the nice action is. I don't want to downplay any of the other beautiful places, but if you're going for the urban lifestyle, the chic lifestyle, the trendy lifestyle, Escazú is the place to go to get a good meal.
Oh, you don't have to sell me. Look, I come into Escazú maybe about once a month because I love to put on the pants and I like to go in and, you know, drop the sandals and put on some real shoes and have a nice time there. And it's one of my favorite areas of Costa Rica for sure. And it's a really nice soft landing for a lot of North Americans who are coming in and maybe have unrealistic expectations about what it's going to be in Central America. I think they're very pleasantly surprised when they get in the Escazú area, especially where your clinic is located.
Yes, this place, I mean, I was just in Tampa, Florida, and I have to say, when I walk out the door here, I see more BMWs, Mercedes-Benzes, and those types of things than I do when I go to Tampa. So definitely these, you know, we have a 8% growth rate, annual growth rate in the emerging markets, maybe a little bit more. And you can really see the effect of it here over the last 5 or 6 years.
Fantastic. We are short on time here, but I've really enjoyed our conversation. We've been speaking with James Ritchie from the Anti-Aging and Wellness Clinic in Costa Rica. I really appreciate all this information. Of course, the website is antiagecr.com. All of the links are going to be on my website, which is thisweekincostarica.com. James, so thanks so much for your time.
Well, thanks a lot for having me. I appreciate it. Hope to see you soon here.
You will.
So you want to jump out your